So I'm glad I could do this, and I would love to get your Zoom links in the future. So thank you, Garden Club of Kentucky, for inviting me. And before I show you my PowerPoint, I will just tell you how I got started with monarch butterflies. And Linda might have already heard this, but I'm going to repeat it for the rest of you. I was teaching kindergarten at Friends School, Haverford in Haverford, Pennsylvania. And we were teaching children the life cycles and the life cycle of the monarch butterfly. And it was so amazing to me to see that transformation and to see how the children reacted to it. And when we were leaving there, I still felt like, seeing the plight of the butterflies, it was pretty devastating to me how the numbers of the monarch butterflies were going down. And so because of, pesticides and Roundup and whatnot. So I decided I was just going to continue raising them. So wherever we go, I grow milkweed, and I plant flowers and milkweed, and I tell people about them. And so after we left Haverford, we went to Hamilton, New York. We were at Colgate University, very small town. And I did not see a lot of butterflies. I did see some milkweed that they would regularly mow down, which kind of broke my heart. But I started trying to educate them. And I became friends with the mayor of Hamilton, and she started growing milkweed in her garden, in her front yard, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. She was showing people, this is something important to do. And I would bring cages with chrysalises in them to the public library, so the children coming to the library could guess when they might emerge from their chrysalis. And that was really fun too. And then they planted a garden behind the library for the butterflies, and we would go and release them. So it's like, constantly just trying to educate people and help them see how important the monarchs are, how important gardening is for so many creatures. And then we came to Berea, and I thought, okay, what's Berea going to be like? And when we came here, I said to the head of the facilities, may I plant milkweed in the backyard of the president's home? And I thought, oh boy. And he said, is it a native plant? And I said, yes, it is. He said, well, okay. So that was that. And that was really exciting for me. And then getting to know our Berea College students. It's like the monarch butterfly, the transformation from the tiny egg to the caterpillar to the butterfly, seeing our students come in and they really need a lot of help. And not all of them, I don't want to say that, but a lot of them do. And it was pretty cool to see how they transform into these really incredible, strong students and go on to do wonderful things in the world. So I just wanted to share that, but now I will go on. I'm going to try to share my screen with my PowerPoint. So the Berea College campus for pollinators and for learning. So we have 8 great commitments that Berea College goes by. And our 7th commitment is about sustainability and taking care of the campus, to maintain a residential campus and to encourage all community members a way of life characterized by mindful and sustainable living, health and wellness, zest for learning, high personal standards, and a concern for the welfare of others. We also want people to understand that and who we are. So we put these signs around our campus. Our campus is not beautiful by some people's terms because our grounds do not get treated, because we want to take care of the creatures. So we have these signs, our sustainability group, Office of Sustainability put out about the bees. Without pollinators, we wouldn't have the variety of flowers, fruits, and vegetables, that make up our food system. about why there are bare patches under trees, because the trees suck up a lot of water, but how important trees are to us, and about weeds. And, you know, we have not heard a lot of complaints about how ugly our campus is anymore. I never thought it was. So this is one thing that we do. In the spring, we try to make sure we are taking care of all of the new plantings, the new, not plantings, these are come up naturally. These are spring beauties. I suppose all of you knew that, but a lot of the guys on our ground crew didn't know that. So they are out there going to zealously mow the grounds. And I had to run out one day and stand in front of the mowers and say, no, you can't mow these down. We need all these early flowers for the bees. And he said, excuse me, but I was told I have to mow this part of campus. And I said, oh, that's okay. And I'm sorry, but I got my phone out and I called the head of the grounds crew and said, Eric, could I please ask you not to mow over here? We can't mow these flowers. And he said, sure. So we just have to educate people. And now they also set their mowers higher so that they don't cut down the low growing spring beauties, some clover. You know, they really try to be more thoughtful and careful about what they are doing on the campus. They know what the campus is about, but you know, they sometimes kind of forget what they need to do. So this is me down the hill in a big field. One thing I had always wanted to do was to have a field of wildflowers. And I know you gardeners see that these are not wildflowers, but there are some wildflowers in there, but I just didn't have a whole field of them. So we throw in seeds of cosmos and zinnias and all kinds of other flowers that bees and pollinators love. I've always wanted to do that because I have loved monarch butterflies for so long and I've wanted a place for them. So I started this field and it's pretty backbreaking to get that thing planted in the spring, but it's so rewarding to watch it through the summer and into the early fall. And I love to go down there and release monarch butterflies that I have raised. And one day I was coming back from there and there's weeds all around it. That's a place that usually would get mowed down, but they've let all the weeds grow around the garden. So you can't really see the garden from the trail, except there's a little path going in and we have paths going through the garden. So there was a little boy and his mom walking toward me and he said, did you know there's a secret garden back there? And I said, yes, I did. And I was so excited that people are finding it. And children, you know, they love to go back there and see the secret garden and see all of the butterflies flying around in there. This one is just a quick little video that I managed to catch 2 monarchs. There were actually four monarchs out there that day. Yeah. They go so fast, hard for me to catch them, but I mean, catch them on camera. So that's always very exciting when I go down there and I see that there are butterflies and bees in there. These pictures are from the backyard at the president's home. We have someone who now works with me. She had, I don't know if any of you have been to Berea, but if you have been and you see all of the beautiful flowers around the Boone Tavern, around the square, those are done by Rose Adams. She is just a fabulous person. And because the head of grounds did not really know much about flowers, he asked Rose to work with me. And Rose said, I have always wanted to work at the president's home. So she plants all kinds of gardens. And the smaller one, as you can see, is a monarch way station. And when I show it to people, I say, you don't have to have a huge monarch way station. It needs to have nectar sources and it needs to have several kinds of milkweed in it. And, you know, I want to encourage people that, you know, it's not an overwhelming thing to do to make a monarch way station. Now, I have another big patch of milkweed on the other side of the yard. So there's lots of milkweed there, not just that little patch. And I also have fennel because we love the swallowtail caterpillars. I hope you can see the swallowtail in there. So the one picture shows a monarch caterpillar and a monarch chrysalis. They are actually coming from the milkweed across the yard and going in there. They don't usually like to put their chrysalises on the milkweed where they are. They crawl away for a while. In fact, we have a little raised garden that you will see later, and we found a chrysalis on a bean leaf in there. And then the other one, the picture with the swallowtail caterpillar, is in my larger garden of milkweed, and we have that fennel in there too. And it's so important. I know it probably looks ugly, but I try to tell people here, please don't cut things down right away when they're dead, because there can be chrysalises on there. And in the fall, they now know to ask me before they plow up my field of flowers or cut things down in different gardens. And I'll go in and check, or I'll wait to make sure it's time. You know, the swallowtail chrysalis looks like a dried up leaf. And, you know, if we just destroy all of those things because we want everything to be perfect and beautiful, then we're destroying a lot of butterflies. These two are in the larger patch of milkweed, where we also have Mexican sunflowers, which they love. And here I just wanted to show you a chrysalis, not when it's green, but when it has become clear, meaning that the butterfly is about to emerge. And there you see the chrysalis, and then the next picture is the monarch butterfly hanging next to the chrysalis. And when I saw that it was going to emerge soon, I just kind of stayed out there and kept an eye on it, because when the butterflies first emerge, they're very fragile. They're wet, their wings are wet and they're crumpled. And if they would fall down, they can't get back up, and their wings would be deformed, and they would just lay there and die. And here's just a picture of monarch. Now, I thought I had a picture of monarchs mating, and I kind of think that might be it, but it's hard to see, but it's still a beautiful picture of monarch, I think. So this is swamp milkweed, which is in my small way station in the backyard. And I don't know if it's large enough for you to see, but there are 4 monarch caterpillars on that milkweed. And that was amazing to me. Last summer, that was the milkweed that they really loved, the swamp milkweed. Not sure why that ended up being a video. This is a picture of our raised gardens, and we have tomatoes and beans and peas, but we also have herbs in there that you probably all know butterflies do love. And in this picture, there are a couple of swallowtails, and there's my larger patch of milkweed. And there were 4 swallowtails on the Mexican sunflowers. It was pretty amazing to see them. These pictures are of the Monarch Way Station that we started on the campus. When we started it, how many years ago? Linda probably remembers, maybe 7 or 8. It was very, very tiny. And the person who was helping me didn't quite have a vision, and we kept working on it. And then my dear Rose took over and has been helping me, and she has just done a beautiful job with this way station. This way station is at our child development lab. We have a child development lab over in our eco village for young children who are faculty and student children that, you know, they need care for their children. It's a wonderful, wonderful development lab. It's not just a daycare. And I would bring chrysalises over to them in one of my cages and let them watch it for a while and wait till the monarch butterfly came out. And they loved it so much, the teachers and the children. And they said to me, can you help us make a garden for the monarch butterflies? So we actually made a monarch way station for them too. And Rose has really done a great job taking care of that. And I don't think you can probably see it. It's on the right-hand side. I did give them a little butterfly house, just a kind of cute little whimsical thing for their garden. I'm not so sure that butterflies actually go in butterfly houses, but I think they look pretty cool. And the kids all loved it. And they loved having a path go through there. And parents would tell me that when they bring their children to school in the morning, they say they won't go up to the door until they walk through the garden. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. You know, it's always so important to teach people about gardens and the importance of gardens. Well, we are also a registered bee campus. A few years back, I got an email from a Berea alum who was working for the Xerces Society in Oregon. And she said, so I see you raise monarch butterflies on the campus. I'm thinking that campus is perfect to be a registered bee campus. Have you ever thought about that? Well, I hadn't, because I really didn't know about it. I mean, I know the importance of bees. Without bees, we don't have a lot of our fruits and vegetables, and the bees have been suffering too. So I looked into it, and of course, there's a lot of paperwork and a fee to pay, but we were glad to do that. And so we are now a registered bee campus. We have to send in all of our paperwork again this month, and they want to know how we are taking care of the gardens that we say we have, and are we expanding them? What else are we planting? Thanks to them, we started thinking about it a lot. We've planted more clover because, you know, we don't worry about people seeing clover on our campus. You know, sometimes people want to kill those clover and dandelions, but we realize how important they are. So we're pretty proud of this. And this, I just took 2 days ago. I hope you can see it. It's a little strange, but there are honeybees there.
February 15th. Good thing we have some flowers out already. Some of our honeybees.
I don't think I've ever seen honeybees out in February before. I had seen these flowers out in front of this building when there was still snow on the ground. And I thought, wow, that's really great. And then a couple days ago, there were bees on it. And those are Lenten roses, which I'm thinking you probably all know. I did not know. I had to ask what they were. But I am going to encourage our groundskeepers to plant more, because there really isn't a lot out there for the bees right now, except for these Lenten roses. This little garden is behind one of our buildings, Draper Building. And if you ever get here, and you can go in Draper, hopefully, if it's not COVID times where we have the doors locked, there's a beautiful chapel in there. And the gardens, there are 2 little gardens, and they kind of have the feeling of being in a chapel too. They're so beautiful. And this one has this beautiful little pond in it. And Rose took over this garden because they were going to have some of the folks, some of the alums coming back, meeting there. And I thought, oh dear, that garden looks awful. So I talked to Rose, and she took it on, and she wanted to put fish in the pond, but she found that the water was bad and the fish kept dying. So she kept working on it. And as you can see, the fish are very healthy now. And I don't know if you can see what's on that rock, but honeybees. So last summer, when it was so hot, we were back there, and the water, you know, the bees were drinking on that rock, and it was pretty cool to see. And I realized, you know, the other things that the bees need too. We have another fountain on campus, across campus, and it had not been running for a while, and I asked about it. And Rose told me that someone discovered that facilities was trying to keep the water clean and the fountain clean, and someone put some kind of chemicals in it. well, it was deadly for insects. So they turned it off and stopped that. And I think they're working on getting it going again. I sure hope they are. I'm going to ask them because, you know, it's important to have that out there for the bees also. So here are some honeybees on garlic chives in my raised beds out in back. I could not believe how they love the garlic chives. And at the same time that we started to be a bee campus, we became a beekeeping campus. And this apiary is on our farm because when we started talking about it, I said, no, we can't have hives on the campus. People are allergic to bees, so we have to be thoughtful about that. So they put them out on our farm, and that was working really well. And they got more and more. Unfortunately, there were some bees that brought in some disease, and a lot of them died. So it was a learning year for us, and they have moved the hives further apart and are putting them in different places. We were given money for these, the bee campus and the beekeeping, by John Paul DeJoria, who founded Paul Mitchell Hair Products. He was very poor when he was young, and he was homeless and hungry at, you know, one time in his life. And he wanted to start something for people who were poor. And he thought the best thing that could happen for them was if they could grow their own vegetables. So he approached another college in Appalachia and asked them about that. And they said, no, we can't do that, but you might want to try Berea College. So they came to Berea College, and folks here thought about it. And we decided, yes, that was an important thing to do for people. And we had someone who was willing to be head of that, David Cook. And we planted, oh my goodness, I don't even know how many gardens now around Appalachia and into Virginia. And we would send people in to dig up the ground wherever somebody wanted a garden, whatever town was willing to have one. The fire department there had to be willing to fill the rain barrels with water in case it didn't rain so that people could water their gardens. We gave them the tools. They had everything they needed to plant. We gave them the seeds. We gave them everything they needed. And then went in, and when we found out some of them didn't know what to do with their vegetables, they also did classes. And they set up areas where they were teaching people how to can their vegetables. And David told me one time somebody grew eggplant and they didn't know what to do with it. So he gave them some recipes. So, but teaching people to live off the land again, you know, if they're poor, rather than just, you know, going to McDonald's or whatever, it has really been a wonderful, wonderful adventure. So that's John Paul DeJoria, his background with us. Well, he was here a year or two ago, and we were having dinner, and I was talking about my monarch way stations. And then I started talking about bees, and he said, bees, everything needs bees. We need bees for the vegetables and the fruit. I said, I know. And he said, the bad things are happening to the bees. And he looked at his assistant and he said, give $50,000 to the president for the bees, and give $50,000 to Grow Appalachia for the bees. And I'm like, uh-oh, I don't think that's what they wanted him here for, but I'll take it. So that was how we got our bee money. And it was pretty exciting, you know, to have that start. So another one of our great commitments is to education, to offer a high quality liberal arts education that engages students as they pursue their personal, academic, and professional goals. And I say that a college isn't just educating their students, they're also educating the community and other children around the community. Now, this is a picture. This was me educating one of our professors. He told me, he said, Lori, I love your monarch way station, but there are no monarchs. So I went over there and I found some monarch eggs and I brought them over to him, and he could hardly see it on the leaf. And he put it under a microscope, and this is what he saw. And I'm always amazed by this picture because the monarch eggs are just so beautiful. And then there's a teeny tiny little caterpillar or larva that has come out of its egg and it's eating the egg. That's the first thing they eat. So he was so enthusiastic about that. He kept watching it at each stage as it got bigger and bigger. Can you see two caterpillars on that leaf? There's one really huge one and one teeny tiny one. And no, I did not stage that. It just happens. But this professor was just amazed at what he was seeing under his microscope. So he wanted me to work with his students, and he wanted to have his first Zoology 101 class in the fall to be about monarch butterflies. Well, I was thrilled because I love to teach people about monarchs. And I think the more people who know about monarchs, the better. So here I am. I never thought I was going to be a college professor. I went from kindergarten. Well, I was first a registered nurse and then to kindergarten. And here I am in Zoology 101. So I talked to the students about monarchs and how important they are and how their numbers have been dwindling and what we need to do. And then we go out to the monarch way station. Now you may have recognized, well, you probably saw that I did not have a mask on in that previous picture. Well, this was taken several years ago before COVID, because this past year I did have a mask on, and that's me in there now. And I still have my mask on outside, and so do the students. But we take them to the monarch way station, and I have shown them real eggs in the classroom. And then they're looking and looking, and they'll say, is this one? Is this one? And I'll say, no, keep looking. So I'll find one and I'll say that there's one on that plant over there. And they're all like rushing over to try to find it. But it's really cute. They love doing it. And I have had them email me and say, Miss Lori, my caterpillar is growing. It's doing great. Or then they'll tell me when it becomes a chrysalis or when it becomes a butterfly. Another way of educating, I have put different posters around the campus, and this is one of them. I think it's important for everyone to know what pollinators look like. And people often don't realize that, yes, bats can be pollinators too. There's one of my cages, and I show people those, and I try to tell people you don't have to bring caterpillars inside if you don't want to. And I no longer bring the caterpillars in. I just bring eggs in. I have found that there are too many diseases among the monarchs, and it's really sad. So I find that the eggs are usually free of those diseases. Some of them have diseases too, but I keep them in little plastic boxes. And if they look funny at all, I keep them isolated. I watch them for a while. And if necessary, I euthanize them because I don't want to spread monarch diseases. And the young man in the picture, there are students that work in the yard at the president's home. And he was outside weed eating. And I was going to release a monarch in one of my cages. And I said to him, hey, Aiden, would you like to release this monarch? Oh, he was so excited. So I said, well, just put your hand in there and let the monarch crawl on you, which he did. And then he held it up, and the butterfly sat there for just a minute. Unfortunately, it's kind of in the sunlight, so it's not a great picture, but I just loved how excited Aiden was. And he went back and told his supervisor, who then told me that that was all Aiden talked about all day, which I thought was pretty cool. Here are some young children from the CDL who came over to my house this fall, and they had a thank you note for me because I had brought some chrysalises over to them. So that was pretty sweet. The boxes are in the kindergarten classroom at Berea Community School. I have worked with that kindergarten teacher for a number of years now. She teaches the kids about monarchs. And this summer she was having a hard time finding eggs and caterpillars. So she came over to my house and I helped her get some. And I always supply her with milkweed if she needs it too. So she sent me this picture. These children are from the CDL in years past when we didn't have to wear masks, but I love this picture because these little boys were so excited to be able to hold a monarch. And I will make a little bit of sugar water and put it in their hand so that the monarch might sit there and sip some sugar water and not fly away immediately. And the one little boy, when the monarch started crawling up his arm, I thought, oh no, is he going to hit the butter? Because kids are like, oh no, it's tickling me or whatever. But he didn't. He just let it keep crawling right on up there, which I thought was pretty cool. This is a picture of our forestry outreach center. We built this after we came here. I don't know if any of you have been to the Pinnacles in the Berea College Forest. It was named the #1 hike in Kentucky. I think it was this year or last year. It's a beautiful place, but we were having a lot of trouble with people vandalizing. Kids would go up there and spray paint the beautiful big rock faces, and we'd have to go and clean it up. Or they would totally wreck the bathrooms, which was horrible because that was all there was. So now we have the Forestry Outreach Center. People can go in and learn things. There's a restroom in there. There's also a restroom outside, just outside the building, in case the building is locked. And we have a facilities maintenance person who lives in the apartment above it. And we have not had any more trouble, which has been wonderful because it was really sad for a while. And we found out that it's best to involve the community in the things we're doing. If the community is involved, they are more invested in it, and they're keeping an eye out for trouble also. So I can't talk about our forest and our Forestry Outreach Center without showing you our horses. We now have logging horses. These two are, I'm standing by Willow, and the other one is Holly, and they are a special breed of horse called Suffolk Punch. They are very, very strong draft horses. They have stout, strong legs for pulling those heavy logs up rocky hillsides. And we are now building a new barn for them. It's going to be another means of teaching. And we also want to have more teams. So last summer, Holly had Lucy. So now we have 3. Actually, we have 4. We had hoped Willow would have a baby too, but she didn't. So we bought a young Suffolk Punch to grow up with Lucy, to be her teammate. And we love those horses. We did this because we discovered that the heavy equipment going into the forest was just destroying so much of it, destroying, the underbrush and the landscape, and it just didn't seem right. So this is what we've been doing. And that's it.
Thank you so much. That was very, very interesting. And I'm so glad that you added information about the college because it is so different than so many other colleges. And I personally had learned somewhat about it from my father-in-law because that's where he went to high school, from over in Virginia area, and right there, Virginia and Tennessee, and they sent him to Berea for high school, sent him a sister there for high school, and then on to college. But that is so very interesting, and I'm sure, Miss Linda Porter, I'm sure you enjoyed every bit of that too.
I can't, I'm unmute. I could unmute. Yes, thank you so much. It was even better than I could ever dream it could be. I'd just like to encourage our members to go to Berea College. Let me see if I can make myself so you can see me here.
Yeah, we'd like to see you, Linda. There you are.
I was outside with a man who was working on our trees, and my hair got wet. It was raining on me. We were standing out there in the rain trying to figure out what to do with the trees. But anyway, I just like to encourage everybody to go over there. The Monarch, and what you have done just recently is just phenomenal. We weren't there last year, and we were there the summer before and walked around, and it's beautiful. I can't wait to go over and see the children's garden because we didn't know about that. So
Thank you.
But go over there and walk around. The Monarch Way Station is in a fairly visible place, so you can find it. It's over by the Wall of Memories. I'm not sure, the Memorial Wall or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
But just the campus has always been kept so well, but I was really pleased with what you did with Danforth Chapel. because my husband and I were married at Danforth Chapel
Oh.
in 1965.
Really?
And I would have loved to have taken my guests out and walked through that little garden.
Aw.
We'll make sure that we go over and see. how
So
much-
you did see the garden, how it is now?
Yes, yeah,
Oh, good. It's beautiful, isn't it?
it is.
So
we-
many people say to me that they go there and are able to just feel some relaxation and peace and to meditate. And I just love that. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say that Lori was one of the people who jumped right on our Monarch Way Station program, and we were able to dedicate the Monarch Way Station over at Berea College. So we so much appreciated everything that you did there. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I have, having raised monarchs for 20 years, and one of your members, Ann Longsworth, is the one who
Yes.
said to me, after we moved here, she saw that I raised monarchs and she said, may I come over? May I bring my mother over and see your yard? And I said, sure. And I showed her and she said, well, why don't you have a Monarch Way Station sign? And I said, well, I know it's a way station. The monarchs know it. She said, but you're not educating people. And I thought, aha. So yes, and then we did move into the Monarch Way Station on campus too.
Yes.
But you probably remember, Linda, it was so teeny tiny. It was hardly anything.
It was, and now it's just gorgeous. And we found caterpillars and eggs and monarchs over there. So we
Great.
can testify.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I just keep putting more in, and we've got plans for putting more pollinator gardens around on the campus. We had one person who was head of grounds who wasn't sure about flowers, found that the gardens were too much work and pulled a lot of them out. So we are now, he has left, and he was a good guy, but he was a turf guy. And we are now putting more gardens in and going to put more signs in, not just like the big ones I showed you that are always there, but little ones that say, please pardon our weeds, we're feeding the bees, and stuff like that, that are just seasonal. And just so people know, and just put them in a little pollinator garden so people know what the garden is for. Another education piece, but also just get some nectar sources out there.
Not to take up too much time, but I'd like to welcome Dr. Roloffs too. I just noticed he was on the call. He's there. It's delightful.
Dr.
to have
Roloffs, you're being welcomed.
him.
He did a great job as a tech person.
Oh, he's on somewhere waving, but he is. My computer started acting up this week and I said, okay, you need to be down there with your computer too, just in case anything goes wrong. And he's a great support. He also helps me plant that field, that big field of flowers. He and I were the only ones that did it last year. Yes. Linda's giving you the thumbs up.
Well, the pictures were beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, really, I think that would be a great field trip for a garden club, just to come and just kind of mosey around and see everything. And signage, I think, is very important because truly, people don't know, but with the signage, then they can understand. I just think this has been a wonderful presentation, and
Oh,
so appreciate.
thank you.
Well, so appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you and your husband at the South Atlantic region convention, and that will be in March at Boone Tavern.
Yeah.
So,
If some of you are there, I'll say we'll try not to repeat ourselves too much, but I said, oh, I don't know. And he said, oh, because they want to know about Berea College. He said, oh, it's so great to talk about Berea College. I said, you're great at that. He said, well, I'll do it with you. So okay.
be perfect. It'd be perfect. Well, the thing about a Berea College, just like what you've shown tonight, is by adding all the different gardens that you have, and then the signage and everything, it's a lifelong learning for your students. I mean, they'll carry this out away with them when they leave Berea College. And
Yes.
and not all schools are that way.
No.
And I think that's it's kind of set aside, you know, as a unique type of learning campus. It really is, and has always been, I think, from the very beginning.
We try to be good examples, and that's my way of doing it. His way of doing it is showing them about exercise. And we usually do a run walk club every Tuesday and Thursday morning. He runs with students, I walk with them. We stop, you know, when at the winter break, because the students don't want to come out when it's so cold, and we will start it up again after spring break. But some people have been saying, when are we going to run and walk? But people say to me all the time, because he runs 3 or 4 times a week with our dog, I saw your husband and dog out there. And my doctor said to me recently, your husband is such a good example for those students. And I agree, he really is. He's a wonderful person.
Well, I'm sitting here on this side, and I'm just wondering why we do not have a garden club in Berea, Kentucky. It only takes 10 people to start one. So we need to make some connections soon. And just,
Good idea.
you know, and just let people know what it's all about. And so just like everything that you said tonight, I mean, that again, as I said, it resonates with garden clubs all across.
Yeah.
So, and
Well, I don't know if any of you know Cheyenne Olson. She started what's it called? Berea Urban Farm and Sustainable Berea. And they have now a huge farm over there, and they have plant vegetables and flowers, and it's pretty beautiful. I wonder if she would be interested in working on that too. She used to work at the college in our major gifts, and she retired, and that's her main thing she does. And she and her husband and the people who work with her bring around raised beds every spring for anyone who wants them.
how nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about that then and get together. Anybody else? I'm sorry. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Great program.
Thank you.
It's just, now Jean has her own little garden at Udale Garden.
Ah,
And it's absolutely beautiful. It's just kind of like a offset off to itself amidst all the others. And it's very, 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 very nice. Been dedicated to her. So,
well, I have to admit, this was a rather daunting thing for me to do, knowing that I was speaking to all you expert gardeners. When I do not consider myself an expert gardener, I just know what I love, and that I love to do it, and that I always want to spread flowers and milkweed everywhere I go. I'm kind of like Miss Rumphius, if you know that book. She would spread seeds wherever she walked. So
That's what it's all about.
absolutely.
yes.
Laura, you are an expert monarch raiser. I will say that.
Thank you. I have been doing that a long time, and I do feel like I know sometimes some of the experts say you should not raise monarchs inside, you spread disease. But if you look at the numbers, a monarch lays hundreds of eggs, and how many of them actually survive? Very few. So, I feel like if I do it correctly, if I'm very careful, which I am, and I always hate to euthanize any caterpillar, but I will do it because I do not want to spread disease. And you don't always know, but I read recently that the numbers out in Monterey, the first numbers of the monarchs out there, has increased. They were so excited. Those are the monarchs that come down from the West Coast and from Canada. And they're wondering if all of them are actually from there, or if some of them are the East Coast monarchs that are crossing over. So that's an interesting thought too. But I'm happy to do whatever I can for the monarchs and try to do it carefully. So
I have a question.
hi.
How do you euthanize the caterpillars, the eggs? In the freezer?
No, I just take them out and squish them. I know that sounds terrible.
Okay. I thought I was supposed to put them in the freezer.
That might be a nicer way to do it, but
Eee.
I just feel like, well, you know, this caterpillar is diseased. And if I let it keep going, you know, I don't know, you know, I try to keep it away from all the other caterpillars, obviously, but I know that I have to kill it somehow. So I have different means. I've not put them in the freezer, but that might be a more humane way of doing it. But I'm not sure how my husband would feel if he opened the freezer and saw a caterpillar in a bag in there.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about that.
Burial at sea. Flush them.
My husband's put them in there, so.
He just said, I like burial at sea, flush them.
Okay, yeah.
No, I would not do that. I want to help them be gone as quickly as possible, you know, and so.
Well,
I had a beautiful big caterpillar I was watching one time, and I went out one day and I thought, I'm going to leave him outside. I'm going to let him be outside and be free. And you see, I find a lot of them outside, and, you know, they managed to make it. But this one, I went outside and, oh, what is that horrible bug? Assassin bug. There it was on the ground with an assassin bug on it, killing it. And I was just so mad. Oh, I was so mad. So, you know, my thinking I'm going to leave them outside to grow outside in the wild like they're supposed to, you know, I don't always make it. My husband says to me, oh, just bring them in. So. But that was a fair question.
well, I kind of think your method is pretty good, because then they would have no pain. It would just be instantaneous.
That's right.
Anybody
I
else
had
have-
a question? Yeah.
Yes.
How many
I'm
different,
sorry.
how many different species of milkweed are you growing in the gardens?
Well, my little garden behind the house last summer only had two. I had common milkweed and swamp milkweed. We had started a couple of different kinds, and they did not do well in that little garden. Now, I usually have butterfly weed out and back too, which is also considered a kind of milkweed. In the big waste station on campus, Rose is always putting more in there, and I don't even know how many were in there last summer. I always say to her, we have to have several, and she's really good about doing it. So, you know, but so I'm sorry I'm not being more clear about that. But in the backyard, I always have common milkweed, swamp milkweed, and butterfly weed. There are many beautiful kinds of milkweed though. And when people say common milkweed is so ugly and it gets so messy, then I try to show them some of the other ones. For a while, there was one around here that was really beautiful. It was balloon, I think. But we looked into that, and it was more of a tropical kind of milkweed, and decided that that really wasn't right to give to the caterpillars here. So we all stopped planting the balloon milkweed. It was lovely, and the caterpillars loved it, but you know, you want to be careful about what you're doing. So,
Thank you.
but you should ask Ann Longsworth. She's the expert on that. But I know she can't be on here because at least last time I knew, she didn't do computers. So, but I know she is a member of the Garden Club of Kentucky. So,
Well, thank you for a beautiful program.
well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm so glad I got to meet a lot of you or see a lot of you. And I hope you'll come to Berea sometime.
Well, several of us. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
I'm in charge of the monarch garden here down in the Simpson County. And I've had monarchs and a lot of other pollinators there also, but I want to know how you can tell that they are diseased.
Well, when the caterpillar has odd stripes or black spots on it, sometimes you'll just notice there's something different about them. Now, one time I had one that had one antenna was long and one was real short, but I looked it up and it seemed like that was okay. So I just kept him separate from everybody because he was inside, and hoped he was okay. But otherwise too, they start to turn dark. I don't know if you've ever looked up diseases of monarchs. There are different things, and one of them is called Black Death, and it's awful. The caterpillar can turn black. If it does form a chrysalis, you'll notice the chrysalis getting very, very black, and nothing happens. So that's another reason I, try to keep an eye on them. There's another disease that the chrysalis actually turns kind of a grayish orangish color. So, it's just paying attention to what they look like, and if they look like they're supposed to, and when they
In the
don't.
chrysalis stage is when you decide that.
I'm sorry, what?
Chrysalis stage is when you find that.
Sometimes it's the caterpillars. If the caterpillars are either acting strangely or looking strange. One time I had some caterpillars in a cage, and they crawled up to the top like they were going to make a chrysalis, but they kept crawling around and around, and they'd stop. And then they'd crawl around and around, and they could not make a chrysalis.
Okay.
And so sometimes there's just something strange that's going on.
I had that when I tried to raise some black swallowtails this last summer. And I had 4 in a cage that I was raising. And one of them did that. And I wondered about it.
There's also, if they have been treated, if the milkweed has been treated with some type of an insecticide, and that does happen, you can purchase it, unfortunately, in some of the places and find it. So if you purchase your milkweed like from a nursery, and you see your caterpillars acting that way or acting strangely, there is a very good chance that that could be insecticide damage too. And the chance of them having a successful going all the way into a butterfly successfully and having a healthy butterfly is very slim.
Yeah.
So but that is another really obvious reason for it. But I had some that was actually had tropical milkweed for a while. I don't have that anymore in my garden, but I was absolutely certain they were treated because almost all the caterpillars were acting that way. They were going around in circles. They were really acting strange.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why. And another reason you might need to actually get rid of your insecticides. I can't seem to say that word. Your butterflies is if they come out severely deformed.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're not going to be able to fly.
Right.
And some people actually keep them in and try to raise them and keep them from flying. And I think that's a little extreme. So that's another reason why you might want to do that. And I usually just
I raised 4 of the black swallowtails, and one of them did that, but it died before it before it became a chrysalis. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
But
also this.
I don't use any insecticides anywhere around me or in my yard.
Good.
Yeah. There's also a little fly called a tachnid fly, and they're real small, and they've got these red eyes. But I'm always very careful when I have anything inside in a container, because they can actually get in there somehow, and they will lay an egg in the chrysalis. And the first time I saw it, out of the bottom of the chrysalis, there was this long, thin stream, and down came this little grub-like thing, and I was just sick. But when that happens outside, then those grubs go down in the ground, and then you get more tachnid flies. So there are so many things that are out there damaging the monarchs. It's kind of scary.
And stink bugs eat them as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Stink bugs. So another reason not to like stink bugs.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of things that will eat the eggs in the tiny caterpillars. I just, when I see anything on my milkweed, I get rid of it, because I think, I don't know if you're going to eat them or not, but you're not staying on my milkweed. I'm pretty ruthless. Well, thank you all. I don't know if anybody has anything else to say, but I think you're probably all ready to move on, and I appreciate your time this evening.
Well, listen, we're delighted that you have done this presentation for us. And we look forward to coming back to Berea and looking around, and hopefully several of them will be coming, and I know several will be coming to the SAR convention. And then, of course, we have our convention for Garden Club of Kentucky in April, the first week in April, and that's in Louisville. So we've got two nice conventions coming up, and but anyway, we look forward to seeing you, and look forward to seeing everybody else. This has been a wonderful group, and I think if there's nothing further, we'll just say goodnight, but I will be in touch about maybe setting up some type of meeting without any obligation, possibly starting a garden club. You know, I've got several out there that's on here tonight that'll be willing to travel with me.
Okay, Garcia, you know, I'm only here for another year and 5 months, so.
Obviously, you can do a whole lot. You already have. You can
Well,
guide us there. Well,
thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you.
Night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.